know, because, you know, once you sell a lot of records, well, then more people know who you are. And it opened up some doors. I felt like, you know, if they bought this one, maybe they'll buy.
Even the biggest country stars can lose everything. Imagine 21 legends, once living in luxury, reduced to financial ruin. Behind the hit songs, full concerts, and fame, some of the most famous country stars ran out of money. Here are 21 country stars who went bankrupt after their fame. Number 1. Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's story is perhaps the most famous example of a country legend drowning in financial struggles. During his peak years, Willie was one of the most successful entertainers in America, pulling in millions through record sales, tours, and songwriting royalties. He built a life of comfort and lived large, investing in land, houses, and other ventures. But by the early 1990s, everything came crashing down. The Internal Revenue Service accused him of owing over $16 million in unpaid taxes. His accountants had placed his fortune in risky shelters, which the government later declared illegal. When the demand for payment arrived, Willie did not have the cash to cover it. Federal agents came in, seizing his ranch, his properties, and even his personal belongings. The sight of a government auction selling his possessions came as a shock to fans who had known him as a symbol of freedom and independence. Willie Nelson's political activism, including support for farm aid and usage legalization, often attracted media attention and public debate. While fans admired his outspokenness, critics sometimes attacked his views. These controversies overshadowed his musical achievements at times and drew attention and backlash that added pressure during his financial and legal struggles. But Willie refused to surrender. He released a double album titled The IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories, where proceeds went directly to the government to clear his debt. Today, Willie Nelson still tours and records, his outlaw image only hardened by that legendary battle with bankruptcy. His long struggle showed that even giants could stumble, which set the tone for others whose stories carried even more pain after experiencing fame. Number 2. George Jones.
I went through some pretty bad things. I was at my lowest point. I weighed about 105 pounds maybe. And
George Jones, nicknamed the Possum, had one of the greatest voices in country music. His hit, He Stopped Loving Her Today, is still considered the saddest country song ever recorded. George sold out arenas, scored countless #1 hits, and lived the life of a superstar. Yet his personal struggles dragged him into the pit of financial troubles. George was known during his fame for missing concerts because of his bad habits. He earned the nickname No-Show Jones because fans would often arrive at a sold-out venue only to find out he never came. Each canceled concert meant refunds, lawsuits, and broken trust. Money flowed out faster than it came in, swallowed by these habits, reckless spending, and failed marriages. By the 1980s, George was facing bankruptcy. Creditors closed in, and his once shining career seemed doomed. But his comeback was one of redemption. With help from his wife, Nancy, George cleaned up his life and steadied his career. Although he never regained the kind of fortune he once had. This brings us to the next country star on the list. Number 3. Tammy Wynette.
I was born and raised, a man's word was God, where I came from. You know, if I asked Mama to do something, it was always ask your daddy. You know, so Stand By Your Man came very natural.
Tammy Wynette, the first lady of country music, sang heartbreak like no other. Her anthem, Stand By Your Man, brought her fame across the world and made her one of the wealthiest women in Nashville. But behind her famous image lay financial storms that kept returning throughout her life. Tammy endured a string of failed marriages, including a terrible union with George Jones. Her troubled marriage led to a highly publicized divorce from George Jones, creating legal and financial headaches. Settlements and obligations drained her earnings, while media coverage intensified personal stress. These repeated marital disputes disrupted stability, forcing her to manage both professional commitments and mounting financial responsibilities altogether, complicating her career trajectory. Each divorce drained her money as legal battles and settlements piled up. She also faced health struggles that required expensive treatments. Beyond that, she lived in constant pursuit of luxury, lavish houses, jewelry, and clothes, which only widened the hole in her finances. By the late 1980s, Tammy filed for bankruptcy. Despite her fame, she owed more than she owned. The woman who once sang to millions about loyalty and strength was battling with creditors and health scares behind the scenes. In her final years, Tammy continued performing, but she never escaped the weight of debt. Her downfall painted a picture of how even the brightest stars could be brought down by both personal and financial pain. From her broken empire, the path leads to another singer who found himself in a nearly identical trap. Number 4, Johnny Paycheck.
Barroom fight. I was carrying a gun, which was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Johnny Paycheck lived the outlaw lifestyle to the extreme. Best known for the working man's anthem, "Take this job and shove it," he rose from a background of poverty to become a chart-topping rebel. Success gave him riches, but his choices soon brought ruin. Johnny burned through money on his many bad habits, from women to cars and many others. He often found himself in trouble with the law, leading to legal bills and a damaged reputation. His downfall reached rock bottom when he was convicted of firing at a man during a bar conflict. The prison sentence not only cost him his freedom, but also destroyed his income. By the time Johnny got out, the world had changed. His voice was still strong, but the industry had moved on. This incarceration disrupted touring and recording schedules, increasing financial pressure. Public perception of him as reckless compounded struggles, while legal fees and lost opportunities deepened the debt he carried during and after incarceration. He filed for bankruptcy, admitting he had nothing left. Friends like George Jones and other musicians helped him survive, arranging benefit shows so he could afford basic needs. When Johnny Paycheck passed on in 2003, he left little behind but his music. His life was a reminder that rebellion could come at a heavy price, and as his story closed, another legend's battle with debt and despair was just beginning. Number 5, David Allan Coe. David Allan Coe's story is one of raw talent mixed with controversy. Known for his rough outlaw image and songs that pushed boundaries, Coe captured attention with hits like "You Never Even Called Me by My Name." His career earned him wealth and recognition, but his financial management was reckless. David Allan Coe courted controversy with offensive lyrics and provocative statements too, leaving out mainstream audiences. Songs with shocking content sparked backlash and limited radio play, affecting his income. Public criticism and complaints sometimes overshadowed his talent, and combined with poor financial decisions, these controversies contributed to a shrinking career and mounting economic challenges. Coe lived a lifestyle beyond his means, spending heavily on cars, jewelry, and failed projects. He also faced lawsuits over unpaid taxes. At one point, he filed for bankruptcy, admitting that the money he had once used for his lavish lifestyle was all gone. Despite his struggles, Coe continued performing, often in smaller venues, keeping enough income to survive. Yet his reputation as a controversial figure limited his opportunities. His fall from wealth showed how outlaw pride did not always translate into financial stability. Next is number 6, Merle Haggard.
You have Coca-Colas in Germany?
Merle Haggard, often called the voice of the working man, lived a life that went between triumph and hardship. With classics like Okie from Muskogee and Mama Tried, he earned millions, selling records and filling arenas. His music spoke for those who struggled, yet Merle himself could not escape financial chaos. Haggard spent lavishly on homes, vehicles, and touring expenses. His complicated personal life, which included multiple marriages and divorces, drained his fortune further. By the late 1970s and into the 80s, debts piled up. Tax issues added to the storm, forcing him into bankruptcy. Unlike some others, Merle found ways to rebuild. He returned to touring and recording, drawing fans who never abandoned him. Although he never regained the vast fortune of his peak years of fame, he managed to secure stability before his passing in 2016. His story reflected both the resilience of an artist and the heavy toll of living larger than life. From Merle's rough road back to stability, another tale emerged of a young star whose fall was faster and more tragic. Number 7, Mindy McCready. Mindy McCready was a rising star in the 90s, with her debut album 10,000 Angels selling millions of copies. She had beauty, talent, and a promising career, with songs like Guys Do It All the Time climbing the charts. Success brought her wealth, but her personal life went down into darkness. Mindy's career was faced with troubled relationships, habit problems, and multiple arrests. The chaos in her private life translated into financial ruin. Her income stopped as record sales slowed, and soon she faced bankruptcy. Legal fees, medical bills, and failed comebacks left her in constant debt. By the late 2000s, Mindy was living far from the lavish image she once had. She appeared on reality television, but the money was not enough to rebuild her fortune. In 2013, her tragic passing by self at the age of 37 shocked the country music world. Her downfall was not just about money, but about the weight of fame. From her heartbreak, the next country singer's journey showed how even steady success could vanish overnight. Number 8. Lorrie Morgan. Lorrie Morgan, the daughter of country singer George Morgan, carved her own place in the industry with hits like 5 Minutes and What Part of No. In the 90s, she was one of the most recognizable female voices in Nashville. Her fame brought in money, but her financial life soon collapsed. Lorrie faced bankruptcy in the late 90s, citing millions in debts against far smaller assets. Part of her troubles came from failed investments and her expensive lifestyle, while divorces also chipped away at her earnings. Despite these challenges, she kept performing and recording, relying on loyal fans to support her. Though she never returned to her peak wealth, Lorrie found stability in smaller tours and collaborations. Her struggles highlighted how even those born into the music world were not spared from financial ruin. As her story continued, another tale was unfolding, that of a band whose collective troubles proved that bankruptcy could hit groups just as hard as solo stars. Number 9. Shenandoah. The band Shenandoah burst onto the industry in the late 1980s, delivering hits like The Church on Cumberland Road and 2 Dozen Roses. Their harmony-filled country sound gained them loyal fans and solid record sales. At first, success seemed certain, but legal disputes soon dragged the band into deep trouble. They were sued repeatedly over the rights to their name, and these court battles drained their finances. Instead of enjoying their prime years, Shenandoah was forced to file for bankruptcy in the early 90s. The costs of litigation, combined with management struggles, nearly ended their career. Yet Shenandoah fought back. They kept touring and eventually resolved their legal battles, though the bankruptcy left scars on their reputation. While they never matched the financial power of their early years, they survived as road warriors, singing for fans who remembered their best songs. From the collapse of a band, the next story returned to a solo artist whose famous career was shadowed by debts she could never fully escape. This brings us to number 10 on the list. Number 10. Freddy Fender.
It took me a long time for me to really mature and learn things. I have to make a bunch of mistakes to finally.
Freddy Fender was a singer whose blend of country and Tejano music brought him fame with hits like Before the Next Teardrop Falls. His smooth voice carried him to stardom in the 1970s, and he earned a fortune during his peak. But Freddy's path was marked by hardship. He had spent time in prison earlier in his life, and even after finding success, money slipped away quickly. Poor management, heavy spending, and health issues led him into financial disaster. By the time his career slowed, he was forced into bankruptcy, unable to hold on to the fortune he once enjoyed. In later years, Freddy returned to music with the Texas Tornadoes, gaining critical praise though not the same financial rewards. His health battles, including a battle with cancer, overshadowed any chance of rebuilding his fortune. Unfortunately, he passed on in 2006, leaving behind a legacy of songs that outlived his financial struggles. Next, number 11, Waylon Jennings. Waylon Jennings was one of the leaders of the outlaw country movement, standing tall alongside legends like Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. With songs like Luckenbach, Texas, and Good-Hearted Woman, Waylon earned millions and helped redefine country music in the 1970s. His rebellious style and deep voice made him a symbol of independence, appealing to fans who admired his refusal to conform. He lived the life of a star, with sold-out tours, private planes, expensive cars, and expensive homes, showcasing the rewards of fame. But behind the image of success, Waylon struggled. He developed a heavy bad habit that cost him thousands of dollars a day at its worst. He poured money into these habits, touring expenses, and a lifestyle far beyond what even his earnings could sustain. The Internal Revenue Service pursued him for unpaid taxes, piling legal pressure onto his already fragile finances. At one point, debts totaled over $2 million, a staggering sum that highlighted the danger of mixing fame, excess, and poor financial decisions. Though he admitted bankruptcy, Waylon managed to survive thanks to steady touring and the loyalty of fans who admired him regardless of his mistakes. Later in life, he learned to control spending, make wiser business decisions, and prioritize music and family over everything else. He remained a figure of resilience, continuing to release albums and perform until his health declined. When he passed away in 2002, he left a musical empire, though not the fortune his career had once promised, or the one he once had during the peak period of his fame. Waylon's story illustrates that even legends are vulnerable to personal choices and financial mismanagement, and it sets the stage for another tale of a star whose family struggles and health crises pushed him into debt. Number 12, Eddie Montgomery. Eddie Montgomery, one half of the country duo Montgomery Gentry, was celebrated for high-energy performances and hits like Something to Be Proud Of. He and Troy Gentry filled arenas across the United States, sold millions of albums, and were beloved for their connection with everyday fans. At the height of their success, Eddie invested his earnings in restaurants, real estate, and other ventures, hoping to secure long-term financial stability beyond music. He appeared to have it all: fame, fortune, and opportunity. But life took unexpected turns. Eddie's restaurant business collapsed, forcing him to file for bankruptcy. At the same time, he faced a painful divorce that drained personal funds, and he battled cancer, which brought medical costs and emotional strain. Combined, these hardships left him millions in debt, far beyond what his music career alone could cover. Despite the mounting pressure, Eddie continued performing with the duo, refusing to let his personal and financial struggles keep him from the stage. Bankruptcy filings revealed just how deep the financial hole was, highlighting the fragility of wealth even for successful stars. Yet Eddie's determination never wavered. He remained a performer, keeping Montgomery Gentry's name alive until Troy Gentry passed on tragically in a helicopter crash in 2017. Eddie pressed on as a solo artist, honoring his partner's memory while continuing to entertain fans. His story is a reminder that fame and talent do not guarantee financial security, and that resilience often becomes the key to survival when life turns against you. This brings us to the next country star on the list. Number 13, Hank Williams. Hank Williams became a country music legend with hits like Lovesick Blues, Your Cheating Heart, and Hey Good Looking. At the height of his career, he earned about $1,000 per show, a massive sum at the time, along with income from record sales, songwriting, and touring. His early finances promised a comfortable life, and fame seemed to guarantee lasting wealth. However, personal struggles soon undermined his fortune. Chronic back pain led to a dependence on usage, causing him to miss performances and strain relationships in the music industry. A bitter divorce from Audrey Shepard drained a large portion of his assets, while poor financial planning worsened his situation. Debts accumulated rapidly, and despite his success, Hank's wealth steadily decreased. When he passed away on January 1, 1953, at the age of 29 from heart failure linked to usage, his estate was valued at roughly $100,000, equivalent to about $1,200,000 today. Fame and talent could not shield him from the collapse of his finances, leaving a legacy of musical genius shadowed by financial hardship. Hank's story of rapid rise and sudden financial fall paves the way for another country star whose immense talent and chart-topping hits brought wealth. Yet personal struggles with addiction and mismanagement would similarly push him toward bankruptcy, leaving a complicated legacy of brilliance and misfortune. Number 14, Keith Whitley.
I sure have. I've been working almost too much. It's hard to find that happy medium, you know, where you can be home and still work enough to pay the bills. But I just got back from a...
Keith Whitley rose to fame with soulful hits like When You Say Nothing at All and I'm No Stranger to the Rain. He earned substantial income from album sales, touring, and songwriting, creating a bright financial outlook early in his career. Despite his rising wealth, Keith battled severe usage. Dependence on these bad habits led to missed shows and strained relationships with promoters and colleagues. Mismanaged money and unpaid bills compounded his financial troubles. His divorce from Lorrie Morgan added further strain, reducing his resources and increasing debt obligations. High earnings were not enough to prevent his growing financial instability, and bankruptcy became an unavoidable shadow over his early success. Tragically, Keith passed away on May 9, 1989, at the age of 34 due to complications from drinking. His estate, including real estate holdings, was valued at over $100,000, though settling it proved complicated. His career earnings could not overcome personal and financial mismanagement, demonstrating how quickly fortune can go away. Keith's struggles with money, habits, and personal challenges lead naturally into the story of another veteran performer whose long-standing career produced fame and fortune, yet whose financial missteps and legal obligations eventually pushed him into bankruptcy, overshadowing the prosperity he once enjoyed. Number 15. Bobby Womack. Bobby Womack gained fame through collaborations with legendary artists, songwriting royalties, record sales, and live performances. At his peak, he enjoyed both wealth and industry respect, appearing financially secure and admired for his talent. However, financial trouble began to surface. Excessive usage, unpaid child support, and mismanagement drained his resources over time. A divorce from Cecil Womack added to his financial instability, leaving him with fewer assets than expected. Even decades of success could not prevent mounting debts from consuming much of what he had earned. Bankruptcy came in as a consequence of both personal and financial challenges. Bobby remained active in music for much of his life, but struggled to restore his financial footing. He passed away on June 27, 2014, at the age of 70, leaving behind limited assets despite his celebrated career. His story highlights that talent and fame alone cannot prevent financial collapse when mismanagement and personal struggles interfere. The difficulties Bobby faced in securing his wealth set the stage for the next story, that of a powerful vocalist whose soaring career and massive earnings could not escape the grip of debt and mounting financial obligations, resulting in bankruptcy after he had also enjoyed fame during his peak. Number 16. Roy Hamilton. Roy Hamilton achieved fame for his powerful voice and hits like You'll Never Walk Alone and Unchained Melody. Initially, his earnings from record sales and live performances created an impression of financial security, and he enjoyed widespread recognition for his talent. Yet financial difficulties soon appeared. Medical expenses, back taxes, and poor money management piled up, leaving him heavily in debt. In an effort to meet obligations, Roy even borrowed against his life insurance, but debts continued to grow, showing that high earnings could not prevent financial collapse. Bankruptcy became inevitable, highlighting the fragility of wealth without careful planning. Roy Hamilton passed away in 1969, leaving a legacy of extraordinary vocal talent, yet almost no financial stability. This brings us to the next artist, whose early success and chart-topping hits brought substantial wealth, only for personal choices and mismanaged finances to turn that fortune into financial hardship and bankruptcy. Number 17. Mel Street. Mel Street was known for his heartfelt lyrics and soulful voice, with hits such as Borrowed Angel and I Met a Friend of Yours Today. At the peak of his career, he earned substantial income from album sales, touring, and royalties, and seemed destined for financial security. Despite his talent, Mel struggled with bad habits and moodiness, which affected both his personal life and his finances. Lavish spending, combined with poor money management, gradually took away his wealth. Bankruptcy became an increasing concern, as debts and medical bills accumulated beyond what he could pay. He faced mounting pressure from the industry and creditors alike. Mel Street never recovered financially. On October 21, 1978, he tragically ended it all himself at age 45, leaving behind a career that earned fame but not lasting financial stability. His estate had almost nothing to show for years of success, though his music continued to gain posthumous popularity. Next is another country artist, whose promising voice and financial gains would similarly vanish, leaving behind an estate overwhelmed by unpaid obligations and legal complications. Number 18, Spade Cooley. Spade Cooley earned fame as a Western swing musician, band leader, and television personality. Hits like Shame on You brought him recognition and income, while hosting the Hoffman Hayride added to his earnings. For a time, Spade enjoyed wealth and the privileges of celebrity. However, personal misconduct led to his downfall. Indecent behavior and legal trouble put together in the passing of his second wife, Lame Evans, which resulted in a first-degree conviction. In prison, his finances suffered, with legal fees and forfeited assets depleting his estate. Bankruptcy loomed as his income vanished, and property disputes and financial mismanagement left little behind. Spade remained alive during his incarceration, but passed on from a heart attack in November 1969, one day after a benefit performance during a short furlough. His fortune evaporated, and his legacy was overshadowed by both crime and financial ruin. The path from fame to bankruptcy in Spade's life mirrors the journey of another artist, whose dazzling talent could not prevent debts from taking over. Next, number 19, Dottie West. Dottie West gained relevance as a country music star, becoming the first female country artist to win a Grammy with Here Comes My Baby. Her career brought in money from recordings, performances, and royalties, creating a promising financial future. Yet, lavish living and poor money management left her in financial trouble. Debts accumulated, including a $73,000 loan on her home. The IRS seized her possessions, including her house, to recover unpaid taxes. Divorce and personal obligations worsened the strain, leaving Dottie with little to show for decades of success. Dottie West passed away on September 4, 1991, from injuries sustained in a car crash. At the time, she was still struggling financially, with bankruptcy overshadowing her artistic achievements. Her story highlights how fame and talent can be rendered almost meaningless when finances are mismanaged. The next artist on the list was an extraordinary country star whose voice brought fame, yet whose fortunes were repeatedly undermined by debts, legal battles, and personal struggles just like the others, showing the fragility of wealth even for those who seemed untouchable. Number 20, Vern Gosdin.
I'd gotten to the point I was about ready to give up the business and just move out of Nashville, but I don't think I could ever give up songwriting.
Vern Gosdin was celebrated for his baritone voice and hits like Chiseled in Stone, earning him awards and substantial income from albums, songwriting, and touring. His early career promised financial stability and lasting fame. Despite this, Vern faced ongoing financial challenges. Investments failed, legal troubles arose, and a costly divorce drained resources. Even at his career peak, he struggled to make ends meet. Debts and financial obligations repeatedly forced him to adjust his lifestyle, and at times, bankruptcy seemed inevitable. Vern experienced a stroke in 1998, but continued performing until April 28, 2009, when he passed away. At the time, financial pressures had never fully lifted. Number 21, Carl Smith. Carl Smith was a pioneer of modern country music, earning fame in the 1950s with hits like Hey Joe and Loose Talk. His smooth style and charismatic performances made him one of Nashville's first household names, and his success was considered secure for a time. He earned a fortune through records, live performances, and touring, enjoying the rewards of fame in the early days of the industry. Yet Carl's wealth did not last. Changing musical tastes left him behind, and several poor investments further eroded his fortune. By his later years, he faced bankruptcy, living modestly despite the fame he had once enjoyed. Unlike some of the other stars on this list, Carl did not have the safety net of modern management, meaning financial missteps were harder to recover from. Carl Smith's story closes the circle, showing that even the earliest country stars were not immune to the pitfalls of money, mismanagement, and the fleeting nature of fame. From the first to the last, the 21 stories of stars who went bankrupt after fame reveal a sobering truth. Behind the songs of love, loss, and hope, country music's legends often faced real-life hardships and heartbreak, similar to the stories they sang about. And despite fame, hits, and millions earned, these 21 country stars show that fortune can vanish quickly. From bad management, personal struggles, and bad habits to costly divorces, bankruptcy touched even the brightest careers. Their stories serve as a clear reminder that behind the music and the stage lights, money can disappear as fast as it came. Which country star on the list hit you the most? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.